Now we are at the Kennedy Space Center. This is a bus tour. We're going to see three sections of the Cape Kennedy site. Get an idea from this map, the strategic sections. The vertical assembly building, the very large building that you will see. You will see the tracker area leading to the two pads, launch pads. The little landing strip up at the top is where the shuttle just returned. Then we go over to the Space Station Center, where we're actually going to be walking through the Space Center. Now we are at Kennedy Space Center. This is going to be a bus tour. The first section of the bus tour is going to be at this what's called the Vertical Assembly Building, which is where the shuttle and also the old Apollo were assembled, and then the track crawler goes out to the launch pads, see from the observation gallery. Then we go over to the Apollo Saturn V Center, where you actually see one of the old Apollo Saturn V. Then we go to the Space Station building, where we can actually walk through a space station.
Ready the space vehicle for their next journey to space. Let's talk about the area here to the front, right front of us.
The various systems that make the orbiter the most complex machine ever to take to the air.
Many a ton. Two large diesel engines generate electrical power for the motors that turn its treads. Operating a vehicle of this size takes a highly trained crew of about 20 engineers and technicians.
Now, the huge transporter has a unique capability in that it can raise or lower that gray colored flat upper surface on which the launcher platform would sit for movement. This can be raised or lowered, and the capability of this huge vehicle to raise or lower that upper framework becomes the method that's used to load or offload the mobile launcher platform. We have a mobile launcher platform for the shuttles.
Control Center, the electronic brain of Launch Complex 39. It's the home base of a complicated computer system that oversees the entire checkout and launch process of the space shuttle.
3 days before liftoff, this is an extremely busy place. That's when countdown for launch starts. About 200 members of the launch team are stationed in the primary firing room, checking and double-checking every system on the shuttle.
Kennedy Space Center oversees the launch until the moment the shuttle clears the tower, about 7 seconds after liftoff.
You can see the tracks of the
responsibility
transporter.
transfers to Mission Control at Johnson Space Center in Houston, Texas.
Area. This is where they offload cargo that's delivered here via the waterways, via ocean-going barges or ocean-going vessels.
We're outside in a tower overlooking the vertical assembly building. The tracker road, crushed stone. You can see the footprints like some prehistoric monster in the tracker road. Then follows down to the two launch sites.
All right, we don't need to.
Distant launch site is A. You can see the turnoff, which is where we are. Beautiful day in Florida. Seeing the vertical assembly building. And we're halfway between the vertical assembly building and the launch pads. There is the crawler road or track. See the crawler prints. And the far launch pad, the turnoff. And that is Launch Tower B, 39B, taking the left-hand turn. And we continue around to the 39A pad. We're just halfway in the middle, between the vertical assembly buildings and the launch pads. Try to zoom in here to see as close as possible. Obviously there is no shuttle on the pads today. They're actually in space doing a service call on the space station.
Yeah. I got one in Washington, D.C. I was Secretary of State or somebody.
Well, from everywhere you can see the vertical assembly building. It is just huge. Well, we're on the other side of the observation tower. These are some of the historic pads from the Apollo Gemini days.
You are reviewing an actual space shuttle main engine which was retired after completing 15 space flights on 3 different orbiters over a period of more than 8 years. First flown aboard Challenger's maiden flight in 1983, its credits include assisting the successful launch of the Hubble Space Telescope, the Gamma Ray Observatory, the Space Lab Laboratory, and 13 communication satellites. This engine was also used in 63 successful test firings on the ground for a total of 78 starts throughout its operational life. The Space Shuttle main engine is the most complex propulsion unit ever developed to support space flight, and it is the first rocket engine ever designed to be used repetitively. Each main engine generates about 375,000 pounds of thrust at liftoff, and it operates for approximately 8.5 minutes. The time it takes to consume 500,000 gallons of cryogenic propellant and place the shuttle into the low Earth orbit. Public display of this engine has been made possible through the generous support of the Marshall Space Flight Center and Rocketdyne Propulsion and Power, a part of the Boeing Company, developers and builders of the Space Shuttle main engine.
Were built and 12 launched successfully. Only 3 Saturn V's remain in existence. You'll see one of them in just a few minutes. Refurbished by NASA to Smithsonian standards and moved inside for display in the Apollo Saturn V Center, a facility in the center that indeed does house the spirit of Apollo, being only a couple miles from launch site, where we have to go to the moon. I think it's significant. There's also a very human side to what we did here at Kennedy Space Center 30 years ago. Here's Jim Lovell describing the high point of his experience in space. It wasn't surviving the explosion that aborted his moon landing during the Apollo 13 mission, but something even more memorable.
Finish the video off here as we get closer to the VAB, those doors that are folded downward. When they open those doors completely from bottom to top to take the shuttle out to the launch pad, it takes 45 minutes for all of them to open. Over here to your left is where the press comes, ABC, CBS, NBC, and CNN. This is